Alrighty, folks. Welcome back to the Mushing Alaska's podcast's coverage of the 2023 Iditarod. We're your hosts, Brennan and Sean. And, we're just a few miles out from Ryan Redington claiming his title. And just wanted to go ahead and kind of zoom in here and look at things. Pete Kaiser's breathing down his back. Sean, any thoughts on things where we're at right now?
Well, Pete Kaiser ran from White Mountain to safety an hour and 52 minutes faster than Ryan Redington. And that's got to feel pretty good to Pete. He kind of gave, he basically conceded to Ryan that he's not going to make the push. And that's just not something that Pete wanted to do. But now you're seeing the difference in speed where Pete's going considerably quicker down the trail than Ryan. And if there was another, 50 or 100 miles of trail, we might have a different winner. But, Ryan decided a couple days ago, I'm going to go out and I'm going to go win the Iditarod. And, he's made some pretty crazy moves. But also they're not unprecedented. Like some of these long runs you're seeing, that's how Lance Mackey, a lot of those years that he won, he'd do these long runs and short rests, and he just had the dog team that was comfortable just kind of marching along, and it's kind of more of an old school style it seems, and what you're seeing from the rest of the field is kind of the more modern mush schedule, which is not doing a bunch of long runs, but keeping the runs shorter and also keeping the rest shorter. And it seems like, if you do that, you might even be doing a faster schedule than you would if you run 100 miles straight. If you run 50 and you rest 2 hours and run 50 again, you'd probably be about the same speed. But yeah, it's Ryan, laid it down, dude. I'm gonna go do this thing, and I think that's ultimately why he's gonna win it, because he was willing to go for it. And it was a pretty massive gamble, I think, and I think he's gonna see his grandpa's trophy here in about 40 minutes. And right now he's on the road system in Nome. He's
What mile do you have
uh,
him on the tracker? I've got, for some reason, I'm having issues with their website, so I can update our tracker here. What are you seeing?
5 miles to the finish, mile marker 993, and speed of 5.2 miles an hour. He's there. I bet you he's not asking his dogs to go any faster. He's just chilling. Look, we got plenty of time. Let's just go on a nice little stroll through downtown Nome. Um, and we'll see. It's tricky right now. The Iditarod website, for some reason, I don't know what the reason is, but it's going pretty slow. The website might be because everybody's trying to tune in and see what the hell's going on out here on the trail. Who's gonna win this thing? You know, it is surprisingly, Pete really closed that gap. So I still don't 100% trust Ryan's gonna win it. I only 99% trust he's gonna win it.
Yeah, it's, I guess, the old saying, it's never over till the fat lady sings. One thing I wanted to do, I brought up here, this is courtesy of me. This is the man who lives in Atlanta, Georgia, okay? Who doesn't live in Alaska, who has never mushed, right? So I went back and I literally watched Ryan's entire replay on the Iditarod Insiders tracker. And I broke it down into what is 16 runs to Nome. So he's in the middle, or he's about to wrap up the 16th run. And there are a couple of things, it may be hard for everyone to kind of see this, but I made a few notes that I wanted to point out about just kind of going back and analyzing his run. So early on, nothing seems to be out of the ordinary. He seemed to be taking anywhere from about 5 to 8 hour runs. and then usually about a 4-ish hour break, 4.5 here or there. So let's see. The first thing I wanted to point out was that he had, um, where is it? It's the seventh run, I believe. No, it's coming to me. He had a Okay, yeah. So he had the seventh run where he arrived into Iditarod. That was a 5 hour run, and it was only 40 miles. And um, he had a similar run, the fourth run, where he arrived in Nikolai. That was a 6.5 hour run and only 37 miles. Those are two like runs that he were his slowest, from what I could tell. But everything else was really impressive. He had that 8 hours run, 66 mile from Nikolai to Dakotna, but that was into his 24 hour. Very well played. Then, he took his 8 hour early in Shagaluk, which early on I was kind of like, I wonder why, but after that, when I watched the replay, he just shoots up the Yukon and just gains on everyone else, which I thought was a really smart play. But the thing that really I wanted to point out was he took after his 8 hour in Shagaluk, he took a little over a 5 hour run. It's 43 miles. Okay, reasonable. Took a 4 hour and change break. All right. Next run, let's throw about another hour and some change on. So we're now at a 6 hour and 40 minute run, give or take, 62 miles. Grayling to Eagle Island. Takes another 4-ish hour break. Then goes Eagle Island to Caltag. Adds another hour onto that run. 7:35 run, 60 miles into Caltag. Takes a 4.5 hour break. 10-hour run from Caltag into Unalakleet. 85 miles. Only drops one dog there. Now this is where it gets crazy. So each run there, he like added an hour on essentially. After that 10-hour break, I've been talking about it. If you've been watching our videos, I've been talking about how I felt like that was a long one, right? Well, he took a short break there in Unalakleet, 3.5 hours, shimmied on up to Shaktoolik in 6 hours, drops a dog, another 3.5 hour rest, and then drops the gauntlet. Koyuk to White Mountain, blows through Elam, 14-hour run, Sean. 14 hours, 94 miles. And that, to me, right there is where he really put the pedal to the floor and just was like, yeah, I'm winning this race. He literally, like, in that 14-hour run, other than, like, what looks to be little micro breaks to, like, give him snacks and stuff, he did not stop. I'm just, like, wrapping my head around a 10-hour and then 2 runs later, a 14-hour. Thoughts?
Yeah. Firstly, this is really cool to look at this all in one page, and I guess I'll start from the beginning here. Firstly, he starts off the race with like every single run he did was pretty long, honestly. When that first third of the race, I mean, you gotta start the race with 72 miles. I mean, it's a pretty like confident start to the race. You know, most of the time that doesn't really work out. You run 72 miles with a team that's just really, really, really excited there at the start line. Sometimes that can cause more problems than it solves. Then right into another 70 plus mile run. I mean, typically you're looking at 50 to 60 miles. And especially earlier in the race, you see less longer runs across the board from the entire field because they have the dogs that are just too stoked. They don't want to get empty the tank too early, so you kind of have to ease them in the travel mode. And once they calm down, they burn less energy going 60 miles when they're halfway or 2/3 of the way into the race than they would going 60 miles at the beginning of the race because they're charging so hard. So then he goes and does another you know, 7 hour run. Then he does a 6.5 hour run, uh, 8.5 hour run, 7+ hour run. Every single run going in to, let's see, the first run he did that was under 6 hours was um, from the halfway to Iditarod to Iditarod, and then uh, let's see, he had come out of his 24 and done a 60+ mile run, and then I think he kind of you see this like shift
Yep.
in his schedule. He goes this. All right, I've been running these long runs. It's not sustainable. It really isn't. And so he goes and he does this short run from halfway to Iditarod, and that's maturity on his end. In prior years, that he's probably runs those first six runs at those long times and distances with the short rests, and he continues to do that in scratches. That's what his early mushing career was like, and so this is where you see that maturity come in, shorten the rests. Um, I'm sorry, shorten the runs, and then he gets the shag look, takes that mandatory 8, um, and then he kind of eases out of there with a 5 hour, 11-minute run. Okay, that's like a good length run. You like to see it, and then yep, he's kind of picks it up for literally he's been racing since he got to Grayling, um, or yeah, since he left Grayling. You know, so these have been a bunch of long runs strewn together, and I think that when it comes to these 10-hour run, 14-hour runs, I don't know. I kind of want to be careful about how I talk about these things because I'm not. I don't see this dog team except for a split second at the checkpoint, leaving the checkpoint, getting to the checkpoint. You see the run speeds, you see the run lengths, the rest lengths. You can kind of get a little bit of a picture, but ultimately, I'm not there. All right, but like the first thing everyone thinks when you see all these long runs is, this is a little bit much, and I don't have experience. I've running a 14-hour run, 800+ miles into the Iditarod. Uh, so I can't say what that looks like. But I know that historically in the Iditarod, running from Koyuk straight to White Mountain was a common move, especially if you go back before I started following the Iditarod, in the early 2000s and late 90s, and you saw and then I mean even earlier than that, you got that. I would say longer runs were common. That was the way that it was thought that you had to win the Iditarod. That was the only way. And then you had people like Dallas Seavey come along, and completely turn that narrative around and be like, yo, you don't need to go on these long runs. I mean, obviously he went on a long run or two on the coast, but not this many 7-hour runs, and uh, and he, had did away fast. He set all these records doing that. So this year, Ryan kind of went back a little bit to that old school style, and sometimes when you're asking this of your dogs, it's a gamble, and that's kind of it goes to that back to the bond between you and your dogs. You're asking a lot of them, and but at the same time, if they're going slow, you don't ever want to ask more. Hey, where they're going pretty slow, you wish you were going faster. It's not that fun running a slow dog team, but that's fine. We're chilling. We're good. Let's just continue on. We'll take some breaks. We'll, and we'll get, and then it gets to that long 8-hour rest in White Mountain, and I'm sure the dogs are probably a little stiff coming out of that run, and and then you see the speed difference coming out of White Mountain. Like, duh. I mean, of course they're gonna be slow. When you look at this schedule. So yeah, we are. Yeah, I just it's not the way that a lot of mushers would do this. I mean, I think what separates Ryan from all the mushers behind him is that he was willing to do this, which is kind of uh it's I think, that's maybe the reason like people like Ali Zirkle never won the Iditarod, uh because they didn't want to do what Ryan's doing right now, which is those long runs. It's not they can sometimes just not be like super like that fun of a run. You're out there for 14 hours, and it's tough. It's a tough run. These are really tough, robust dogs, and I think, yeah, you can't push a rope. They're doing this because they want to do this. The dogs, and he's asking a lot of them, and I think when they get to know him, those dogs are going to be ready for a nice long rest and a bunch of meals and massages, and they're going to have veterinarians everywhere, and I think, you know I'll give Ryan the benefit of the doubt that he's doing right by his dogs. But I mean, there's a lot that this is a big push here on the coast, and you saw uh, this opportunity was there for Pete to make this decision and run that run from Koyuk to Elam, or maybe he could have ran through Koyuk. Bruce Lee mentioned this, and I was talking about it with you, Brendan,
Yep.
that breaking up that run from Shaktoolik to White Mountain into two runs, uh, and going through Koyuk and resting, 10 or 15 miles out of Koyuk and then going 80 miles to White Mountain. He could have done that. Jesse Holmes in the lead. He could have continued to do 50, 60-mile runs and 4-hour rests, and he probably would have stayed right up there near the lead. So there's a lot of teams that could have, you know, had the schedule, but for whatever reason, whether it was that they had the team to do it, but they just didn't want to do that, or maybe they saw the writing on the wall with their dog team and they said, you know what, we're gonna coast a little bit. We're gonna, no pun intended, and we're gonna take uh, our foot off the gas. And you know, I think Ryan Redington's dog team. I mean, look at Hunter Keefe, who's running probably some of Ryan Redington's dogs' siblings and their dogs, his sons and daughters, or fathers and mothers. They're on Keefe's team, and you see how fast Hunter's going, and that's because he's not trying to win the Iditarod, right? He's trying to place top 10, and I will go back to that rookie race here in a second, but yeah, it's just a pretty aggressive. I want to win the Iditarod schedule. That's what we saw. I'm going to win this damn thing. This is what I'm willing to do for it. And it was a gamble. Pete's like, go ahead, take your gamble. I'm chilling here. I'll be here when you guys have to take an unexpected stop. I'll be going right by you. But yeah, he ran out of trail to do that. And look, right now we are. Let's see what the update's
I
looking
was
like.
gonna say, what do you got
Um,
for me?
well, uh,
What's
the
Reddington
last
at?
update was 15 minutes ago.
Okay.
Um, and it says that he's took a stop here about 4 miles before the finish line. So
So
it could
he's still
be.
at
I'm sure there's
993.
um 994,
Okay.
and could be that his dogs, they see all these people there, and maybe his dogs aren't super socialized, and it could be like, Jesus, this is a lot. There's people all down the street of Nome. He's right next to one of the roads that you can drive like 30 miles outside of Nome, and this is one of the roads to do that. So he's like, people can drive their cars right next to the trail right now. So he's probably seeing some fanfare, and um, could maybe he's seeing his homies and they're saying hello, and he knows he's got a big lead and he can take a quick break and hug some people or
Having
whatever.
a beer with the
I
homies.
don't know.
I
We just like
mean,
this is
that would be kind of fun, right?
it could be, yeah, but yeah, I mean, you don't know. It could be possible his team's not going right now. I mean, like I said, he ran a pretty aggressive schedule. But we'll see how they look at that finishing video, and
Where's Pete at?
Pete is 985. He's going downhill. There's like the Cape Nome or whatever. This like it's like 20 or 15 miles, maybe 10 miles outside of, I don't know. I scratched, right before this, and I'm getting all these feelings of regret and mistakes but there's this hill that I hear about that's outside of Nome. You climb up it, and you can see the town off in the distance, but you still got like 2 hours to go to get there, so it's a little bit of a tease. And so he can maybe see Nome off in the distance, but he's still got 13 miles to go. So
Where's
Richie's
Yep.
977. He's moving on the sea ice and that cape. Um, he's uh, moving pretty good at 8 miles an hour, 8.5 miles an hour. Matt Hall is coming in behind him, 7.8, and there I think that's kind of where the blowhole is like that stretch kind of on the coast before safety, but like after where we see Kelly is at right now, and he's like kind of finishing up with the Topcock Hills, which are these series of monster hills, right before you drop down onto the coast to head towards safety. And I mean, look, the name of the checkpoint is
Safety.
it's not called safety like because of some guy whose name was Safety. It's because it's freaking always windy, and you need some kind of break from the elements out there, and you can you know get to safety,
Where did
right?
where did you
That's why
say
it's
Matt
called
Hall
safety.
was? What miles?
9:59.
Okay, so he's a little further down here. Good deal. Um, and Kelly's about to hit the coast.
6.3 miles an hour, going probably uphill. Yeah, about to hit the that drop down onto the beach, so to speak, and
What's his
he's at
mileage?
mile 946.
There we go.
Uh, Jesse Holmes is at mile 932, and he's really rebuilt his team's speed, and he's got some strong run times. Uh,
And then that's
and
it out of Koyuk. That's it, or excuse me,
no,
Elam. That's
Matt
it.
Failure,
Oh,
Matt Failure just left. So he's at mile 920, so just outside of White Mountain, going on his last run. I saw him on the live feed. He was sent the dog home. And I was thinking about some of these dogs that have been sent home. I remember seeing this video of Jesse Holmes sending a dog home in Nikolai, and the dog was literally like jumping, lunging, like, "Oh, Dad, like what? I want to continue. Let me keep going. I want to go." But I could also see that that dog's front left wrist was bothering him or her, and so yeah, obviously the right choice. But that's what I'm saying. Like it's not like when you send these dogs home, like they want to keep going, but like what it is that you're dropping them for is usually such a little tiny minor thing that they could continue on, but it's going to continue to it'll develop from something minor to something major. So you send them home. I saw some other checkpoint where I saw a video, and there's a line where there's like a drop dog or two attached to it, and a team is leaving, and the drop dog's literally like pulling the line like almost out of the ground, like I want to go with this team, come on, and like these dogs are not ready to go home. It seems most of the time when you send a dog home, they're like, "What the hell, coach? I'm good to go. Don't take me out."
it has to be such a tough decision for the musher to make. I mean, obviously they're doing it in what's best interest for the dog and for the sake of the team, but you know, there is like a lot of mileage that has happened with the dog. There's a lot of like bonding between the dogs and the human. So I'm sure, I don't know, like talk about your experience dropping a dog. Is there a little emotion to it, or is it just like, all right, dude, you're good to go?
I think kind of a combo of yeah, it's a little bit of emotion, but it's also kind of like, all right, I'm thankful that this is like now this dog is safe in good hands, surrounded by people that are experts in dog care. You got veterinarians and Iditarod veterans are at a lot of these checkpoints, and there's some of the volunteers, they've run these races, or the race judges, they're in good hands. So it's just a relief that the mental burden that you have when you think something might be wrong with the dog.
Right.
Then for me personally, the second I see a dog's change in their gait, or in how hard they're pulling, right now I'm looking at that dog, and now instead of concentrating on the whole team, I'm looking at this one dog. Like, is there something wrong? And then you go and you check, you squeeze, touch their wrist, stretch their shoulder. Oh, it looks like it's pretty good. And then you continue running, and still they're running a little off. All right, well, you get to the next checkpoint and you rest the dogs, and you're like, all right, let's let them take a break. And when he gets up from the straw, sometimes that can be telling. Oh, a lot of times the dogs get out from the straw, and I don't know if you've ever, gone on a long run and then taken a nap and got up. You're a little stiff, but then if you start walking, things start to feel a little bit better. But yeah, these it's tough to see. Is it just the dog's a little stiff because he just got up from the nap? Is it because, oh, there is a slight inflammation in the wrist? And okay, well, if there is, maybe I can wrap the wrist and that'll keep the inflammation down, or maybe it's going to continue to progress in the wrong direction. So you're having all these what's the opportunity cost of keeping this dog versus dropping this dog? How much farther do I have to go? You're thinking about all these things, and when you send a dog home, it's just like, oh, okay, all right, well, that decision's done with. Now I feel good about those 9 dogs I got left, and it is a relief mentally to just uh send the dog home and know that they're going to be just fine, and now you can concentrate on this team that you got in front of you.
Right. On that note of dropping dogs, when I went back and was analyzing Ryan's run here, I was curious about where he dropped dogs. And one thing that stood out to me is he had, after his first run, he dropped a dog. After his second run, he dropped a dog. So right off the bat, he was down 2. I guess that, I don't know, like, it makes me wonder, why bring a dog to the race if they're just going to do 1 or 2 runs of the race? What are your thoughts there?
You see this happen often. You know, that's what I think Sebastian pointed that out. Maybe that a lot of dogs were sent home, or like early in the race, from a lot of different teams, and what happens is a combination of, here's a couple of different scenarios. Scenario number one: inexperienced dog, super stoked at the start line, drives way too hard, pulls a muscle, or gets stressed out from how excited it got, doesn't eat well because of that stress, got just too stoked, too excited, and they're just too eager, and it creates a whole slew of problems, right? When it comes to, could be, right. Okay. So that's one situation. Um, Another situation is literally you have a soft trail and dog kind of steps off the trail a little funny and pulls something. Um, you know, so you have a lot of those too excited dogs, and then they, and they have that sore wrist just come up after just the 1 run or 2 runs, because they just drive too hard. I mean, like, they're literally like, let's fucking rage, I'm going, we're going, and whereas the veteran dogs are just like, dude, we're in for a journey, and what did my favorite quote from Brent Sass before this race was, I got this young dog. He's 3 years old. He's really excited, but he has no idea what he's excited about and what he's about to get into, but he's pumped to do it, you know? And that's exactly what you see from those rookie dogs. And those are the dogs that you end up dropping. And when you start the race, oftentimes you have 10 dogs you feel really good about, 4 dogs that you picked out of a pool of 10 dogs that you didn't know. Maybe I should have not maybe I should have taken part of that 10 I left behind instead of these 4. And if the margins are so fine, so oftentimes you're flipping a coin practically, and you just happen to bring the wrong dog, and it's hard to make that choice, which dogs to bring when it's such a fine margin between, oh, this one's had a wrist problem this winter, but this other one doesn't get along well with the other girls and whatever, so yeah,
So
there
yeah,
it's yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah, I just like I thought, okay, first two runs he drops a dog in each two runs. Then he goes 10 runs until that Cal tagged Uniloclete run. So run number 12, and he only drops one after that. That's a 10-hour run, and then he did his run to Shaktoolik to Koyuk, and same thing. That's run number 14. Only dropped one. So overall, like maybe we think how man he's aggressive with his runs, but like the dogs were clearly in good care, and they reacted well. Uh, you know, then at run 15 he dropped two, so he went down to eight, and then he did one at each next stop as well. But overall, I just think it was interesting to look at how that worked out for him in terms of how the drops worked and all of that. So
Dude, there's some shit going down right now. Okay.
bring it to me. Give me the hot take, bro.
Uh, he's not on the literally he's not on the GPS tracker anymore. He was 5 miles from the finish, and before he disappeared completely from the trail, as far as the GPS tracker goes, he had been noted as resting, which of course you're not going to rest 5 miles from the finish line, right? So he said noted as resting for not moving for 20 minutes while all the other trackers were updating. So I don't. I look. The GPS trackers are super finicky, but I can tell you one thing. Anyone that's on this GPS tracker right now is like, what the hell is going on? It could be this, could be that, could be totally fine, and everything's
Just
kosher and
coincidence. Yep.
whatever. But you see the
So what
leader of the Iditarod 4 miles from the finish line, tracker disappear,
disappear?
and right before that, he wasn't moving at all at 20 minutes, and he's sitting there just outside of Nome, literally on a road to Nome. That there's
I mean,
cars and whatnot, and it's like your thoughts start to think, okay, maybe this door is opening for Pete. Maybe Ryan's team is intimidated by the crowds in Nome and whatever. So, or maybe he's totally fine and the GPS tracker's broken.
I'm thinking of the video. Did you watch the video where Bruce and Lee were kind of given some hypotheticals, and Bruce is like, "Yeah, it's done. It's over. Ryan's got it." And or excuse me, Greg is saying that, Greg Heister, and then Bruce is like, he's like, maybe this happens or maybe that happens, and I feel like that's you're doing your best version of like it's not over, but I'll be honest with you, I think it's over. If it didn't ping for 20 minutes, maybe there's a possibility that he's
Okay.
already at the finish line, you know?
Yeah, he's at the finish line. It's okay. So, it's updated now. Um, I guess when he gets to the finish line, it just
You disappear,
um, you disappear. In
I
other races, you
suppose.
start like bouncing. Your thing starts like flashing. Okay, so yeah, like I said, I thought there could have been a problem, but there isn't. Time in, he officially finishes at 12:13. So he finished 15 minutes ago, and six dogs, and his en route time was he averaged 5.7 miles an hour, so really pretty slow. But yeah, he got there, and uh, for the first time in uh, since the beginning of the race, since his grandfather literally started the Iditarod to celebrate the Alaskan Huskies and wanted to continue their legacy and not have this breed of dog go extinct. He made this event happen. His grandpa, and now you've seen Redington, Ray Redington, Robert Redington, and Ryan Redington all try to win this race several times. The closest ever was his brother Ray Redington got fourth place in his final Iditarod, and now Ryan uh, is able to you know bringing home this win for his family, and I'm sure he's got a lot of fans and his family and everybody's just super excited for him, and I'm excited to see some interviews and some videos, and like, dude, I'm I'll keep it PG, but I tell you what, I'm ready for some fucking videos. I didn't keep it PG. I just said that word. I'm ready for some videos, dude.
Oh, all right.
I
Here,
know that those guys are working
let
hard.
me reel you back in. So I'm just curious, what mile is Pete Kaiser at currently?
Um,
Is the GPS even working?
we have no videos up. Just want to say,
That shouldn't
let's
be any
see.
surprise. No offense
Pete
to.
Kaiser is at 987.
Okay, so he's just moved 2 miles, but he was
He's going.
essentially 12 miles behind him when he finished.
Yep.
Man, that's a close finish. Still want to hear his story as to why he took more time. I thoroughly believe, based off the different run times that he had, really, I would say since Unilaclete, he's had great run times. He's been within minutes most of the time or better than Ryan Redington. They took different routes to get to Nome. So that's ultimately, I think, where that was that 14-hour run. Um, and I'm not saying that he needed to do a 14-hour run, but doing that 5 hour he took in Elam is still a head scratcher. And so, we don't know enough about that, and we trust that he had the best interest of the dogs in mind. But you know, shy of 12 miles, that's like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. I thoroughly believe that there could have been some time saved in the process, and had he played his cards differently. That's one thing I'm going to do is as we continue to keep bringing you footage, or excuse me, coverage of the race, I'll be going back and kind of doing a deeper analyzing of the runs, and we can kind of compare that. Um, but yeah, that's just my thoughts there. Now, as it relates to Ryan winning, I love the story. I think it's great that finally someone is bringing their family trophy home. And boy, I don't know the Reddingtons much. Sean, do you have any experience with Ryan or any of the family in any other races or anything?
I just know they run dogs fast. I haven't really met them. I also right now I'm looking on Facebook, and Dallas CV has went live from Nome. So you can see Ryan's team coming in on this video. I've also one of my friends, Elliot, was watching this, and he told me the dog team looked great coming in to Nome. So that's good news. We love to hear that. Like, you see those big runs, and you hope that they're looking good coming into Nome. And I no disrespect to Ryan, I always want to give mushers the benefit of the doubt that they're going to do right by their dogs, and it seems like he has. And the dog team looked pretty good coming in, so we that's the one of the most important things. Uh, so if you get a chance, you can go to Iditarod Outsider on Facebook, and they shared Dallas's live stream. So uh, I was trying to watch it on the Iditarod website, the live stream it from Nome, but that was not up. So this is the best footage that you're gonna get right now. That's up to date. Is going to Iditarod Outsider, and you'll see that they shared Dallas CV's live stream. So I definitely encourage you to do that.
Yes, indeed. And so yeah, it'll be interesting to see how uh, you know, it'll just be interesting to get some more footage. It'll be interesting to hear the mushers kind of talk more about things, because for me, I feel like we haven't really heard from them since Unilaclete, honestly. Um, and is I know that we had Greg and Bruce in Koyuk with an update, but we just haven't heard a lot from any, like the last 48 hours. I just feel like, that this is a time where I want more and more information, and we haven't got that. So there's a lot to speculate on, right? And it'll be nice to kind of get more details that we can follow up on in later videos down the road. So um, so yeah, I think this is great to see with Ryan. And I think it's pretty sure that Pete's 2, Richie's 3. We'll have Matt Hall 4, Maxner 5, Holmes 6, and from has anyone else left from White Mountain yet? Just Matt Failer?
Yeah,
Okay.
just Matt.
Okay.
Um, yeah, it looks like all the positions are essentially locked, and there's
Yeah.
no chance really that anybody's going to be catching up to anybody. The order that you see it in is the order you're going to get really for the top 10. Hunter Keefe conceded Rookie of the Year to Eddie Burke, but I bet you Hunter Keefe is going to have them fast ass run times like he's had the
Oh my
entire
gosh.
race, and a bunch of respect to him. It's fun to look at some of these speeds when you get to the end of the race. Uh, you know, fastest run to safety so far was Pete Kaiser, who came in, like I said, almost 2 hours faster than Ryan, and came in 40 minutes faster than Richie. And then, let's look at White Mountain. We've got some run times. 6 hours, Kelly Maxner, look at that. 6 hours in route. That's the fastest time so far in this top 10 or in the race in general to come in to White Mountain. So you love to see that. And just 4 minutes slower was Matt Failer. Just 8 minutes slower was Jesse Holmes. Just 7 minutes slower was Pete Kaiser. So you see some of those faster teams. Um, and just 19 minutes slower was Richie. And then, Matt Hall, he took a break on the trail, I think, so his stats are skewed, but he might be running a pretty fast team as well. And you go back to Elam, and, fastest run by anybody going to Elam is Christian Turner. Someone we were kind of worried about because he left Shaktulik and then came back. But whatever that was, he's
He
figured
worked
that
through it.
out. He's
He
got
figured it out.
9 dogs. Yeah, 9 dogs
It was in the
strong.
best interest of the
Um,
dogs. They just killed it.
yep. So you love to see that rebound there. Dan Caduce is the next fastest team. So this guy Dan, if there's one thing I think I've learned following him over the last couple years, is that basically he's always gonna keep his team fast. And so, he's never gonna run a race with dogs going 6 miles an hour, unless the trail's just super slow or something. But yeah, I mean, he's just always got a fast team, and he didn't push hard this year because he's like they're not up to it. So he banked a bunch of rest, and now here he is at the end of the race. Just outside the top 10. Another strong year for him, and 3 minutes slower than Dan. Who do you think? Hunter Keefe. Of course, he's got the fast team. He's just one of the greatest rookie runs you've seen in a long time. Matt Failer, just a little bit slower than him, but still a really fast time. Um, Eddie Burke's got a decent speed, averaging 7.25 miles an hour. That's not bad. But he has been shaving off that rest to be able to take that Rookie of the Year and trophy and really run with it. So yeah, so good to see some of these fast times at the end of the race. I think that that's something super important to pay attention to is who's built their team up so well that they can be just flying down the trail 800-900 miles into the race and have arguably a stronger team at the finish than they did at the start. And that's what's the beautiful thing about 1,000-mile sled dog race is that you finish that race and your dog team you see some of these dog teams get to the finish, they're ready to turn around and go back and go 1,000 miles back to Willow. They're just
Still
real
hungry.
fired up, and so yeah, they're ready. They're trail hard and they've been out there for a while. So yeah, a lot of fast teams in this race.
And then just kind of going to the back of the pack, I had been noticing that the Barrington twins they've been together for a while now. I mean, in true
Literally
Barrington
always.
fashion, right? But they've been traveling closely with let's see, it was Deke for a while, and then it was Williams Jr. and then Bailey as well. Oh no, that's the wrong pack. But those four were kind of with each other. And what I noticed is then down here you've got Joanna Jagao, Bridget Watkins, and Bailey Vitello, and they have also been squatting it together for at least the last, I think it's about 200 or 300 miles now. So you love to see that. And then this was maybe when we started this video, Lance Mackey, or not Lance Mackey, excuse me, Jason Mackey was still in Unalakleet. Can you confirm that, Sean? He was there with Jed Stevenson. And then Eric Kelly was just outside of Unalakleet. And, I'm hoping that Eric Kelly can hold strong. My understanding is that he hurt his ankle. I don't know to what degree, but that is a factor that he's dealing with as he's trying to get this Red Lantern.
Yeah. So in Unalakleet, we got Jed and Eric Kelly and Jason Mackey's still there.
Okay. So we'll update that. Kelly is now there. So essentially at the back of the pack, you have, Kelly, Stevenson, and Mackey riding together. Then you come up the trail a little bit. You've got Watkins, Jagao, Vitello, Sebastian or Theart. He seems to be fine just running his own race. He from what I've noticed, he hasn't really needed a squad to get him through. And then the Barringtons, the Williams Jr. and Deke, they've been kind of traveling together too. So Deke has been at that spot for a while. Has he moved yet? Is that squad caught up to him, Sean?
Yeah. Yep, he's moving now.
And they're all in a pack together?
Yep.
Okay, that's what I think what happened there is Deke was ahead of them, and what I thought I saw is that he got to that point and tried to go out and then didn't like what he saw and stayed there, and he'd been there for a while, which is where I was concerned. But when Sean and I were talking before we started this, I was thinking, okay, well maybe he's just waiting for the homies, if you will. So glad the Barringtons and Williams Jr. has picked them up there and that they're heading to Koyuk together. So yeah, essentially there's 3 little packs with Theart there just doing his own thing in the back half there on the coast. So yeah.
Yeah, Gerhardt's got some fast run times. Not the fastest in the whole race, but upper third of fast run times. So you're excited to see that, and yeah, we're hoping all those guys in the back of the pack. I've seen some forecasts. I don't remember the exact numbers, but it seems like there's going to be the wind's going to be picking up, and of course, in classic Iditarod fashion, the back of the pack might get the gnarliest of the weather, but I think Mackey and those guys in Unalakleet and Stevenson and Kelly, they're a good ways behind all the folks in Shaktoolik, but we'll see what happens, and hopefully they can keep a good pace and keep in this thing. And right now, this is interesting to see this Dallas CV video. Mitch CV and Dallas are both in Nome on a snow machine and driving along next to Ryan Redington as he's approaching the finish line and giving their analysis, which once we're done recording this, I'll be listening to it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So that's a must-see video there, and we thank them for helping out, because the Iditarod website was kind of crashing because of all the traffic, but now it seems to be functioning normally again.
Good. Yeah, I think that there could be more of snow machining next to a musher and getting footage or even an interview, and that would add some value. And then, in my opinion, you're not asking them to get out of a routine at a checkpoint. You're instead respecting them and then kind of riding along next to them and doing that. That would be something that I would love to see more of in the future from the Insider, is just little small things like that. The other thing that makes me think of is um, when they had that video of Bailey Vitello and Jason Mackey at a checkpoint. Just Jason's kind of just keeping it real and drinking a cup of coffee, and I would love to see more things like that too. But anyways, let's see. Is there anything else you want to cover before we sign off here? Or is how close is Kaiser? Any closer? 990 or so?
988 updated 7 minutes ago. Yep, so he's moving pretty good, and yeah, I mean, yeah, the Iditarod Insider would be they got limited resources. Just want to, there's funding for Iditarod is always scraping by, and then I'm sure if you followed teams with the snow machine, someone would have something to say about it, like, oh, that's gets the dogs are gonna run faster because there's a snow machine next to them, and it'll ruin the trail and this and that. No matter what we do with this race, someone's gonna have some critique, but um, yeah, it's a tough race to have footage of, man. It's not like you can just turn the camera on and watch these guys go play basketball. It's like I got 1,000 miles of desolate trail to try to get as much coverage as you can. But yeah, we're hoping. I'm sure they're going to be flooding us with finishing videos. So getting that 48-hour Iditarod subscription, if the only thing you get out of it is to see all 30 teams finishing videos and interviews, those are pretty cool because people's dreams are coming true, and you get to see those precious moments as they cross the finish line. So I'll be looking forward to seeing a lot of those.
Definitely, and we've have primarily focused on the front of the pack, especially these last few days. But the truth is, anyone who finishes this race is a badass, and so we will continue to cover the remainder of the race. We may not do 2 videos every day, but we definitely want to cover more of it and share some stories. And we'll be continuing to do this for you all while the race is still active. So make sure you guys are liking us and subscribing to us. I probably should have said that at the beginning, but this is our first live video, so hopefully this is.
Oh yeah, we're live.
Yeah, hopefully this has gone well for viewing purposes, especially while the Iditarod's website was a little bit shaky with their coverage, and just like I'm still on my end in Atlanta, I'm struggling to pull up the stuff right now, and it only makes sense just like the website's being flooded right now. So, but I'm looking forward to, like you said, like just getting all the various content that I've been hungry and thirsty for in the last 48 hours. I'm sure all of that, like I'm sure they have footage. They just haven't been able to get it out for whatever the logistical reasons are that they have to, face. So yeah, but this has been a fun experience. I think that we've gotten better as we've gone. We've learned some things that I would like to do this again next year, and I think we've learned some things that we can do and improve on and enhance, and maybe the Iditarod Insider wants to like talk to us about a way to like collaborate. I mean, you could use your relationship with the Iditarod to like leverage this into something more. I don't know. I'm just saying it would be fun to like do this in person in Alaska with the both of us. That would be kind of cool, but I guess that's like a pipe dream.
Yeah, that would be. But we've gained a little bit of traction. We thank the fans, and I know I've talked to a few of the mushers in the race this year that would be willing to sit down with us and break down how their race went and how the race in general went. So just when we're still going to be covering mushers as they're coming in, and then once the race is over, we're not just going to dip out and see you later. Don't people a lot of people in the mushing fans world, that, oh, race is over, all right, see you in March. But it'll be cool to hear from some of these guys, and I hope that we'll get a few of them to join us, and there's nothing better than hearing what a musher has to say right after they get off the trail, because what that does to your brain. 10 days on the trail, 1,000 miles just with your dogs real quiet. There's just something different chemically going on in your head at the end of a journey like that, and so it's kind of cool to hear what they have to say or kind of right after. So I'm looking forward to that.
Right on. Alrighty, y'all. Well, I think we've done a good job of covering things for now. We're not going to sit here and wait for every, musher to cross the line, but I think we know the order, like Sean said, really for the top 10, maybe even 15. So, anyways, thank you guys for watching us. Thank you for liking and subscribing. It's been fun bringing coverage of the 2023 Iditarod to you all. And, just again, if you're not following us on other social media platforms, we have our Instagram page, which is mushing.alaska.podcast, Mushing Alaska on Facebook as well. And, I'm sure after this race is done, like Sean was saying, we will probably focus more on our podcast and, like getting out the audio on various platforms, but I think we're still going to put some videos together for you all. So just be on the lookout. Make sure you're liking and subscribing, and thank you all for tuning in.